It's like my second baby. Like, I don't love it as much as I love my other one.
Fair.
I do love it a lot.
Congratulations on being a new mom. I'm so happy for you. It's so exciting.
Thank you so much. It's been like, I mean, the best thing in my whole life. It's definitely like, even before this, I had like a 15-minute break. This is TMI, but my husband's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. He's like, can you hold her for a while? And I was like, yeah. So I was holding her between interviews, and then I gave her back to him. It's like a juggling act.
Yes. Yes.
But it's been amazing. She's literally the cutest, sweetest little thing in the world. So we're really happy.
I've seen the pictures. She's so beautiful. And you guys are so lucky. As a father of three, right? Like I know exactly what you're going through. I know what you're doing. You know, I know what it's like. The nights. Do you find that you're in that phase where like you're finding things that work? Like having a new baby, what I learned was like it was like a combination lock. You know what I mean? Like, and you kind of got to figure out like, okay, well, what is it this time? Is it dad standing, rocking you? Is it mom sitting, just sort of like, you know, wrapping you? Like, are you kind of in that phase where you're finding out those things that fix?
Totally. It's like, do we swaddle? Is it the soother? Is it we find it's never the sitting position ever. It's always like, she'll be dead asleep. And I'll have been rocking her, and I'll sit down and I'll keep rocking her. The second I hit that chair, she's like, Meh. I'm like, oh my God, how do you even know? Like, that's like crazy.
I know that you've been a mom for a few weeks now, so it's not like a super long time, but to give advice. But do you feel like there are things that you've learned in these few weeks that you wish other young moms had told you ahead of time? Is there anything you want them to know? Anyone maybe who's about to give birth?
I think like I said, I probably shouldn't be giving anybody advice yet, but if there was one thing that I've like learned from even just my girlfriends is like all of these like emotions of like feeling overwhelmed and stressed and like, you know, so much love and then frustrated with the crying, I think is just like, it's all normal and okay. And like, I've texted a couple friends being like, I'm feeling really like stressed, and they'll be like totally normal, or super like anxiety or so in love. And they'll be like, that's all normal. So I think just like knowing that, so sometimes you're kind of like, you put so much pressure on yourself of like, am I doing a good job? Is this normal? Am I doing the right thing? And everybody who I talked to is like been through it and felt the same things.
100%. 100%. That's exactly like, even when you get down to having a third kid and you think it's old hat, it's not. It's all the same stuff. You maybe know a little bit more, but every kid is different. Every single child is different. And so in some cases, it's hard to even take advice because it's like, listen, what worked for your kid may not work for my kid. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I'm like in awe of people that have more than one. I think because we're like in the thick of the no sleep, I'm like, how do people juggle more than one kid? But maybe when they get a little older, it gets a little easier.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm doing that Theo Von meme. Yeah, well, yeah. It does kind of get a little easier, a little bit. But on top of that, you have your debut album, Nobody's Born with a Broken Heart, is on its way here.
Other baby.
As we're talking did I say that right? Nobody's Born with a Broken Heart, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right. I was pretty sure I said it right. I've read it a million times. Less than 2 weeks as we're talking, less than 2 weeks away. Are you like, does it feel like it's another birthday on the way? Like you just became a mom and now you're like about to put your first album, your debut album out there. Like it's gotta be similar.
Yeah, it's like my second baby. Like I don't love it as much as I love my other one.
Fair.
I do love it a lot. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it does feel like this, like now that I'm in it, I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do both these things at the same time? But it's also like the coolest moment in my life. Like I get to experience this new world of like being a mom and so much love, and then my first record and so much excitement and so much passion that has went into this project. And so everything's like firing, like all cylinders are firing at like 10 out of 10 right now.
That's so cool, man. I'm really excited for you. I've listened to the what's on Spotify, and I mean, the songs are fantastic. I've been listening to Chasing Tornadoes since last year. Like that song's
Really?
phenomenal. Yeah, oh yeah, I love that song. But I wanted to ask you about just leaning into the new project, your debut album. I wanted to ask you about Easy to Miss because that's such a great song, and I know that the songwriters are like, I mean, it's Emily Warren. I wrote them down here: Emily Warren, Hillary Lindsay, and then Will Weatherly, who wrote Thinking About You. Who was a writer on Thinking About You, Dustin, with you and Dustin. But they are like, I mean, they've written for some incredible pop artists throughout the years, and that's a phenomenal song. And I wanted to just ask you about that becoming part of your project, and you maybe hearing it for the first time and deciding that you wanted to cut that.
Yeah, so I heard that song, my gosh, like years ago, like probably like
Okay.
4 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, I was like, I really want the song to be on my record. And we actually cut it at that point. And then this is like kind of an odd story, but then all of a sudden Demi Lovato was going to cut it. And so then it got pulled off my record.
Oh no.
And yeah. And so then years later, the song was like somehow, I'm not sure what happened in that situation, but years later it was available again. And I was like, I still feel like, I love the song. And Joey and I recut a new version of it, and that's what made it onto the record. So it kind of has like lived a lot of lives.
It sounds like it has. And you just mentioned Joey. That's another thing I wanted to ask you. I was working with Joey Moy because I mean he is just an absolutely incredible producer and the work that he does. And what has it been like working with him leading up to the debut of your new album?
Oh my gosh, he really has been like my champion at Big Loud at my label since the beginning. Like he's how I got signed. He's the one who listens to, I mean, every single song that I turn in. Like obviously my managers do too, but from the label. And he's definitely like a hard ass,
Okay.
but in like the best way. Like because he's like I think because he knows like what I'm capable of, and he's not going to stop till we get there. But he's so talented, and he's such like a support and like loving in a harsh, like in a hard way, like for me, like, so I don't know. He just like, that's the kind of person that I need to like help me push forward.
That's awesome. That tough love work ethic, I guess, right? Maybe like
yeah, and not like, I mean, he's not like tough love. It's just honest. He'll just be like,
Sure.
No, I don't think this song is good enough, or I think you can definitely sing that better. So, I mean, that's what you want when you're trying to make something really, at a good quality.
Do you have any songs that you felt like you had to fight for? I know maybe it's a weird question. I don't know, but like, are there any songs where you were like, I really feel strongly about this. I really want to do this, and other people were like, we don't know, and you're like, I'm telling you, this is the one. Because
yeah. So I think like Rough Ride for a Cowboy is one that I kind of fought for. There's one called Walk Away on there. There's a song called Sucker Punch that's like a lot older that I've wanted to cut for years, and finally we put it on the record. And so it's kind of like this like give and take with or my situation with the label. It's like they'd be like, hey, we really love this song, we really think this should be on there, and I'd be like, okay, I like that one, but I'll trade you that for this one that I really want on there. And we kind of like, and then come down to all of our favorites combined.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've talked about new mom life, we've talked about your new album, and I wanted to make sure that we mention you just announced that you're going to be co-hosting the Canadian Country Music Awards later this year with Thomas Rhett.
Yes, I'm so pumped. Thomas, I've met him a couple times. I don't know if he would remember, but he was like super, super kind to me. And I think he's hilarious. So I think it'll be super fun to work on the script together and come up with those little moments. I've never hosted any sort of award show, so that'll be a first. And I think it's going to be like a nice combo. Like I've done a lot of acting, so it's kind of like acting plus music. This nice mesh of the two.
It is. Do you think are you prepared to like give him some tips or pointers if he's not really, because you've been in front of the camera quite a bit, certainly more than he has, I think, in this capacity.
Yeah, I'm sure that I feel pretty comfy in front of a camera, but I'm sure he does too. So I'm sure, he'll give me some pointers, and I'll throw him some pointers too.
He's a super nice guy. I know. I have also talked to him once before, and just very genuine, very kind. So I think that's going to be really fun. I'm excited for you guys. And I guess speaking of that, I did want to mention, I think the last time that you and I talked, it was over the phone, and we talked a little bit about Travelers and how that show has just continued to have a very like dedicated fan base. And now we're 6 years removed, is that right? From when it ended. No, from when it started. When it ended.
Wait, when
2018, right?
we wrapped in 2018.
Wrapped in 2018, that's right, when it ended. So I was like, man, like it's been 6 years and you can still go on social media and see people posting about it and see people being like, when is Travelers ever coming back? So I'm just, are you ever surprised by like the continued dedicated fandom that the series has?
I totally. I mean, I do know sci-fi always has like a really like, strong fan base. But I think like that's the cool thing about like a Netflix or like I know there, obviously there's things that people have not loved about those streaming platforms. It's like that a show is always relevant because people can stream it at any point. It's never like off the air. So
I think a great example. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
What you're saying, I think there's a great example of that in the recent Loudermilk show that's on Netflix now, which had been a Prime show years ago and didn't really make a splash. It goes to Netflix and it's like one of the top 10 shows, number one show for a significant amount of time. And so I think that like you're definitely like I agree with what you're saying. Like anything could come back at any time because like there's that opportunity for a new audience to find it anywhere.
Totally. And I think that's honestly like the same thing with music now too. Like, a song can kind of pop years later on streaming and, you don't hear it on radio anymore, but on streaming and all of a sudden it's everywhere again. And it's like, I mean, that kind of is the cool thing about like art these days is like everybody has an equal opportunity with just you're able to put it out and you can try to, use social media and all that kind of stuff to get your song heard. And you have a little bit more like power in it and a little bit more control.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, look, I am super excited for you. Nobody's Born with a Broken Heart is out April 26th. And congratulations again on your beautiful baby girl and on everything else you got coming up. I'm sure you got like tours and all this in the works. Is that I guess is that how are you having to kind of rethink your approach to touring now that you're a mom? Like how are those conversations going?
Yes, there's definitely like different conversations. Like, of course, we have to think like, okay, are we all going to go? Am I just going to go for the weekend? Obviously, like the good thing about country music is sometimes it's just the weekends, which, makes it easier. But there's a lot of me flying through the night. Like even I have a show coming up and I fly that day and then I play the show and I fly through the night so I can get here when she wakes up. So yeah, it's just a lot of like scheduling stuff for right now until she gets older. Then I'm just going to take her and she'll just be like, one of those little kids with the headphones backstage.
Yes. I saw Tyler Hubbard open for Kane Brown. I am wearing my Kane Brown hat, right? Recently. And he brought his kids out on stage near the end of the show. And it was so adorable. They did Dancing in the Country. So you have that to look forward to. You can bring her out to dance and sing on stage with you.
I love like that all the like, I mean, there's so many women too, but all the guys, like even Kane, like has his family. It's really beautiful to see that like all these people are family people. And that's what I love about this genre too.
Country music is very much a family oriented genre, I think.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's just, I mean, that's why I love it so much.
It's awesome. It's really cool. Everybody's amazing. Everybody's sweet. Everybody's kind. I don't have a bad word to say about anybody. Thank you so much, MacKenzie, for taking time to chat today. I really appreciate it.